Continuing from part 1, after Kang Ji-hai reunited with his two friends T-min and Y Zhengguo, the group decided to head to the headquarters of the association to conduct a test for Kang GNH's title. The reporters swarmed around them like bees. And as soon as they spotted Hannah from the string association, they crowded around her. Next to her was Park Ha-jien, the rising star of the string association. But the most attention-grabbing person was the man walking at the very end. This man with a top hat was Kim Kite, a member of the Abbey Zakdu Association. Kite was annoyed by the persistent reporters. So he turned to Park Ha-jien and complained about the overcrowding. With such a tight crowd, it seemed impossible to move forward. Ha-jien explained that it was because many people were hoping to benefit from the situation. And there was nothing surprising about it. Kite, irritated, told Ha-jien to disperse the crowd. Looking straight at Ha-jien's face, Kite emphasized the importance of making things right. If not, there would be consequences. Ha-jien and Ha-na understood the seriousness of the situation and greeted each other with a nod. Ha-jien quickly pushed the crowd aside and cleared the way for the group. If someone got in the way, they were moved aside without hesitation. Within a moment, the Kang Jien group was in the center of attention. One of the attendants, feeling overwhelmed by the chaotic situation, advised Kang Jien to leave quickly. Kang Jien would have the opportunity to discuss matters later. For now, he needed to leave and let the situation calm down. On the side, an unknown person called out to Kang Jien and asked him to handle a dirty matter quickly. Kang Jien would have the chance to settle the score later. He was reluctant to leave and stood his ground against the unknown person. Ha-jien couldn't help but show his eagerness to resolve the situation. What can I do to deal with this person? I don't know what you want, but you're making a big mistake, Kang Jien replied. You haven't seen the whole picture yet, so leave before I lose my temper. On the sidelines, someone called out to Kang Jien, urging him to take on more responsibilities. But Kang Jien seemed indifferent to the matter. He remembered that Ha-na had mentioned an older brother named Ha-jien. Activating his truth-seeing eye, Kang Jien tried to discover something useful beyond his initial expectations. His unique skills included the singing technique, water manipulation at level 2, shape enhancement at level 2, and lightning strike testing at level 2. After observing carefully, Kang Jien realized there were two possible approaches. One was a friendly request, and the other involved copying unique skills. Continuing from part 1, after Kang Ji-hyu reunited with his two friends, T-min and Y Zhengguo, the group headed to the headquarters of the association to conduct a test for Kang GNHU. The reporters were swarming around, more numerous than the stores on the street. As soon as they spotted Hannah from the string association, they flocked to her like bees to honey. Standing beside her was Park Ha-jien, the rising star of the string association. But the most noticeable person was the man walking at the back. This man, Tokon, was Kim Kite, a member of the Abbey Zakdu Association. Kite was tired of being bombarded by reporters. So he turned to Park Ha-jien and complained about the crowd. He questioned why Ha-jien didn't disperse the crowd. With an intense gaze, Kite warned Ha-jien to make a move. Or else he shouldn't wonder why he couldn't keep his composure. Ha-jien and Ha-na heard this and immediately greeted the tense atmosphere with surprise. Ha-jien quickly stepped forward to clear the way for the group to move forward and signaled others to follow suit. He didn't see anyone coming from the opposite direction. So he moved to the side, allowing the flow of people to pass. In just a moment, the Kang GNHU group was engulfed in discussions. One of the guards, dissatisfied with the chaotic scene, asked Kang GNHU to step aside and let the water flow smoothly. Kang GNHU would get his turn to present his skills later. He reluctantly stood there and faced the guard. Ha-jien couldn't hold back his fierce demeanor any longer and stepped forward boldly. Asking what he wanted, he warned the guard that he was making a big mistake and should retreat before he lost his temper completely. In the meantime, a mysterious person named An Chai appeared behind them, gesturing to someone. Ha Na also became curious and approached to see what was happening. However, after taking just 2 steps forward, she suddenly stopped. Her face turned pale, as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. It turned out that on the other side, after examining the conditions, Kang Jianhu smiled mischievously and made a mocking gesture towards Ha Jian. He firmly grasped Ha Jian's 2 fingers. Kang Jianhu let out a chilling laugh that echoed throughout the room. Ha Jian was in excruciating pain, feeling like he was dying and being reborn. He forcibly removed his fingers, and Kang Jianhu, in a fit of rage, struck him with a powerful punch. Ha Jian fell to the ground, writhing in pain, while Kang Jianhu, who had punched too quickly for the surrounding guards to understand what had happened, remained calm. The guards were stunned, not knowing what to do and not wanting to cause any further chaos. However, Kang Jianhu seemed unfazed by their presence. He turned his attention to a water bottle, opened it, and took a sip. Just as Ha Jian rushed towards him, he squeezed the water bottle forcefully. Ha Jian, enraged and in pain, tried to strike back. But as soon as the water bottle touched the ground, Kang Jianhu unleashed a powerful blow on Ha Jian's chest. Ha Jian lay on the ground, in agony, crying helplessly. The guards were shocked and didn't understand what had transpired. One of them, named Kyt, took a step forward, but then hesitated. He couldn't see Ha Jian in pain anymore and decided to take action. Suddenly, Kang Jianhu noticed that Kyt was an auxiliary combatant. He activated his truth-seeing eye but failed to gather any information. The system alerted him that the level of the opponent exceeded the permitted limit, rendering the skill ineffective. Kang Jianhu speculated that this person was probably above level 20. Although he knew this, he still felt an itch and couldn't help but be curious. He wondered if this person had any connections within the organization. Kyt, although a bit annoying, seemed useful, so Kang Jianhu decided to recruit him. Kang Jianhu lightly shook his head and said, "That's enough. That person is useful, perhaps because he has some connection with the superior of the Chinese side." Kyt's expression changed instantly, and those around them immediately understood the significance. Ha Na's face turned pale behind the scenes. Kang Jianhu's words seemed crucial, but he didn't ask any further, making it even more intriguing. Kang Jianhu continued with a cold smile, for example, how to limit the secondary effects of the national infiltration. Kyt's face turned pale as he quickly activated his Black Lotus skill. Instantly, a barrier formed, separating the two from the surrounding area. Outside the barrier, Tae Min and others realized what was happening and hurried over. But it was too late. Kang Jianhu was already completely isolated from the inside and outside. Azanhua stood outside and tried to ask Kang Jianhu inside, but the room was too noisy. The door outside couldn't open at all. Kang Jianhu proposed a condition for the exchange, which was to obtain 10 dungeons and the formula to eliminate the side effects of national infiltration. But Kyt still didn't fully believe it and asked Kang Jianhu to prove what he said based on evidence. Kang Jianhu briefly explained the concept of national infiltration, which was an item with excellent healing and mana restoration effects. However, it had extreme side effects, causing disturbances to the user. Kang Jianhu said that to solve this issue, 3 items were needed. The first was the essence of Karazhan, the second was the Moon's Eye Stone, and the last and most important one was the Mandragora plant. Kang Jianhu confidently stated that he alone knew where to find the last ingredient. Kyt compared the information with the guild's research and what Kang Jianhu said, and they matched up. Ha Na couldn't understand who this person was helping. Kang Jianhu pretended to ask Kyt if he wanted to make a deal. Kyt agreed to the deal and confronted Kang Jianhu face to face. Ha Na warned Kyt that if he played with fire, he would have to face the consequences. Kyt silently thought that the conditions for the exchange were too expensive and wanted Kong Jian-hyu to lower the requirements. However, before he could finish thinking, the surroundings suddenly changed, and they were separated by a barrier. Kong Jian-hyu smiled and asked Kyt if he was willing to negotiate. Kyt agreed to negotiate, and the confrontation between them intensified. Meanwhile, outside the barrier, Tae-min and the others realized what was happening and tried to intervene, but it was too late. Kong Jian-hyu and Kyt were completely isolated from the outside world. But Kong Jian, the snail sign, paused to observe their expressions later. The world has stabilized, and the boss's name is Ho Lee Sit, a capitalist. After learning that Kong Jian, the snail sign, would only rank below both Min and Wai, they couldn't accept that reality. Kong Jian, the snail sign, explained that it was only a temporary ranking, and he would come back there next week. Upon hearing this, both of them let go of their anger and moved on. As for those who wanted to retake the test, they would have to find another dungeon. And how would they decide? Kong Jian, the snail sign, reassured them not to worry and just focus on climbing the tower. He would contact them later. However, for those who wanted to retake the test, they would have to destroy another dungeon. And usually, people would choose either the Go Green or La dungeon. But this time, Kong Jian, the snail sign, wanted to challenge a different dungeon. The unique one on the first floor. Speaking of difficulty, it had been 11 years since the game was released, and no one had been able to conquer it yet. Shortly after entering a challenge tower, because Kong Jian, the snail sign, was only rank below, he had to follow the group along with other low-ranked and medium-ranked players. Inside, he got acquainted with an uncle. The uncle mentioned that he had a divorced wife and a bunch of children. Just like a typical main character's situation. The uncle even said that if he could survive this, he would start a new life. Kong Jian, the snail sign, remained silent. Usually, characters like this would soon disappear. The uncle warned Kong Jian, the snail sign, to be careful because low-rank people like them could easily lose their lives. The uncle assured him that at least those here would return home safely. The uncle got a bit emotional and thanked Kong Jian, the snail sign, for his words. After a tiring journey, the group finally arrived. Everyone did well, and now they could rest for a while before the punishment battle begins. The system announced the reward for the first person on the punishment. Inside, there were success rate and adaptability indices, each adding points, along with the activation of the icy heart and other penalties. Kong Jian, the snail sign, realized that the system was malfunctioning. Previously, they could only choose one thing, at best two. But now they could use their unique skills to choose the best option. Probability became meaningless at that moment. While Kong Jian, the snail sign, was still contemplating, a disturbance occurred from below, and a bright light shone up to the sky. Inside, there was the main force of the Blahe Guild, and this guy with his hair styled upward was the team captain. Kong Jian, the snail sign, activated the Eye of Truth and realized that this person's name was Chung Hua, level 14. Agency of unique skills reduces the selection volume of skills. Other skills include Theathan, Fa Lens, Survival Index, Projection. The condition for copying is to turn the shared flower into a lyre within the conquered city. Afterward, Kong Jian's skill activation is not without reason. They make people do things despite the circumstances. But now that Kong Jian activates the skill, why does the captain of the main force of a guild from one of the top 10 countries only have this much ability? It's just that, if they find out later, it's too late to regret if they don't pave their own way. After gathering the entire group, they begin to delve deeper into the ruins. From here on, it will be extremely dangerous. Everyone should follow closely behind me. If you get lost, I won't be able to save you. Having said that, the magical law immediately pointed the scepter at the bright bamboo. Beneath it, there are numerous sleeping monsters lying on the ground. It's really worth it, so this is the ruin. The monsters have all been upgraded and dealt with by the organization. They look completely destroyed. After a while, the two groups finally meet. Kang Xinhai's gaze glances back, feeling that there is something unusual. Why are they fighting so many monsters but not taking a single damage? But before he had time to think, the uncle grumpily walked up and hit him hard on the head. Don't just stand there, bring your butt up and get some water and stones here. Kang Xinhai wishes now that each word could be a conversation starter. He's just a straight soldier, he must remain calm. The uncle assumes that he has a fear of foreigners, so he will leave it to Kang Xinhai. It's because of this that it's hard to understand why the uncle is so strange. That symbol. It's unfamiliar. No wonder it looks familiar. It turns out to be the symbol of the upper-class faction of the Longan Guild. Kang Xinhai spots a small figure in the distance and guesses that it would be easier to approach a small one. Suspicion in mind, he strikes up a conversation with the girl carrying the water. After a few awkward exchanges, Kang Xinhai uses the skill, Do Thiep, to increase affinity. Indeed, with just a slight touch of affection, the other party has opened up and revealed their room. Inside the expensive hat is a girl with elegant blonde hair. Kang Xinhai didn't need the genuine eye skill to realize that she is the adopted daughter of the Chou family, Lorenzer. One of the all-around players, her holy power skill can both attack and defend. And she can also use healing skills to support her teammates. She once proudly claimed to have destroyed Amsterdam by herself. She is one of the most famous players in Chou, the Saintess Teresa du Lorenzer. Finally, Kang Xinhai understands why no one objected to the garlic. Because of some questions, he doesn't know why they chose to punish the ruins instead of climbing the tower. Kang Xinhai wants to use the Eye of Truth skill, but it doesn't work. Once again, it's due to the level difference. But luckily, at this crucial moment, the luck and adaptability stats compensated for the level difference. The Eye of Truth skill has been upgraded to level 2. With the warning system disabled, this time it was possible to successfully investigate. And yet, this girl is only 22 years old and has reached level 29. Carrying out a professional mission. In addition to the unique Cold Blessing skill, she also has level 5 Floral Enhancement, level 5 Concealment, level 4 Blessing, level 4 Confession, and level 4 Shield. The condition for copying is to complete the task of a hero or a beautiful woman and then select a skill to copy. Looking at those skills and appearances, the admiration in Kang Xinhai's heart is indescribable. It's really worth it. Why do people always have the same reasons for causing trouble? The reason why Teresa's group is here is also explained by the professional mission. But the most difficult part is the condition for copying the skill, with her strength. How can it be possible? But indeed, the heavens do not close off all paths. A moment later, the group of uncles and matchmakers caused a big commotion. They touched the Fallet relic. The relic's warning system has detected intruders with only 10 minutes left. The Anning system of the ruins will awaken when stimulated from the outside. When awakened, it will summon the relic's protectors. In the midst of the chaos, the boss is crying and asking who touched it. But now is not the time to panic. Facing the relic's protector with their current combat power, the basic outcome is death. It's fortunate if only half of them survive. If within 10 minutes they evacuate and change locations, but no. Trung Hua doesn't want to lose the current position. With a firm tone, he tells the two behind him that they will continue to move forward. However, the group of nurses and matchmakers have not arrived yet, and once the time is up, the protectors will pour out like a flood. Trung Hua is stubborn and insists on leading the group inside. He will take on all responsibilities himself. Luckily, Teresa is there to support him. So Trung Hua quickly orders the entire team to regroup. One of the two attendants quickly runs out to inform everyone that the protectors have awakened. But despite the urgency of the situation, Trung Hua seems indifferent. He divides the people into groups. with the solo players following the orders of the team leader. That's why they say that those who attract attention usually die early. Somehow, Trung Qua had a big hand in this. With a loud noise, he lightly crushed the person who had just reported, leaving him barely alive. As the cautious gunman entered, a group of protectors from Chamber 1 surrounded them. Trung Qua quickly informed the team about the situation and then instructed the frontline to advance while the support group fell back. The whole team started to take action, with the defense group at the forefront, followed by the assault group and the support group at the rear. First was Trung Qua's assault group, activating the level 2 team enhancement skill. Next was the support player who used the skill to heal the team's combat ability over time. However, despite the team's efforts, they were completely surrounded by the protectors. And the healers on the enemy side relentlessly urged Trung Qua to regenerate his health, making it impossible for them to hold on any longer. Regardless of what others said, Trung Qua insisted that everyone focus on the battle and maintain the team formation. Moreover, their own team still had unresolved issues. So how could they worry about others? While the members of the guild had a tight strategic mindset, the chamber side was the opposite. They were longtime solo players and lacked teamwork skills. Faced with the two protectors in front of them, the formation around them had already collapsed, and the veteran players who used to lead were no longer able to hold their ground. Indeed, he had abandoned them. "Please help us, someone from our side." Just then, a pair of baskets were thrown from behind. A figure leapt towards the group of veteran players. Teresa, with her high-reaching sword, used the priceless skill and swiftly beheaded the three protectors in front of her. But as soon as Teresa landed, she realized something was wrong. Two protectors had bypassed the assault team. The panicked members of the rescue team were in danger. At the same time, in the reception room, the specialized sleeping equipment seemed to be nothing more than a pile of rubble. Uncle Tui, the injured protector, lay there without any movement, his face covered in blood. Seeing the approaching protectors, Uncle Tui could only silently endure his suffering, realizing that his life was about to come to an end. But unexpectedly, another attacker approached, and for some reason, this protector was chopped into small pieces. "Huh? What did Uncle Tui say? Didn't I say we would survive together and get out of here?" he exclaimed. "If you know any unmarried girls, introduce me to them." Before Uncle Tui could respond to his cheerful remark, another protector appeared from behind and attacked him. The evil and gentle swing of the team leader's weapon struck Uncle Thui's head, causing blood to splatter. Using the fire element condensed in her left arm, Teresa unleashed a flame that blew away the attacker. Withdrawing her hand, the team leader hesitated to kill the protector, only intending to hold him down until someone came to deal with him. She was still not used to this skill. Although the team leader smiled and laughed with Uncle Tui, deep down, she was playing a trick. She didn't know who deserved it, so she woke up these protectors when she shouldn't have. While the two were still discussing, suddenly another figure appeared in front of them. The person, who had followed Uncle Tui, ran straight towards them. Uncle Tui, finding his handsome son by chance, was about to greet him when his pleasant expression turned sour. It was Teresa, and her demeanor unsettled the team leader. She accused him of being the one who awakened the protectors and was ready to attack someone defenseless. Looking at the team leader, Teresa declared with a cold voice that she would capture him. In his defense, the team leader quickly tried to explain, but Teresa was more impulsive than patient and didn't give him a chance to speak. Without hesitation, she rushed towards him to attack. "Don't resist, I don't want to hurt you," she said while swinging her weapon, seemingly concerned about his well-being. Although the team leader tried to explain, Teresa was more determined and wouldn't give him a chance to clarify. Looking into Teresa's eyes filled with hostility, the team leader sighed in resignation, turned his back, and threw a beam at the nearby wall. As Teresa slowly regained consciousness, the pain pierced through her and she opened her eyes. Kandin Hu's fist struck her face, and he explained that he didn't mean to wake the enemy. His icy gaze, accompanied by the sharp blade, was confronting her. Kim Din-hyo clarified that he had no reason to do so and that he could easily take her head if he wanted. Teresa's uncle, who witnessed the scene, rushed in to explain that they had been fighting each other. He added that Kim Din-hyo was a stubborn person like himself. Teresa suddenly felt a surge of anger and immediately expressed her desire to gather her troops. After her uncle moved away, she continuously blamed Kim Din-hyo, but he calmly dismissed the matter, unwilling to be bothered by it. After the reconciliation, the two walked out together. Teresa asked if his name was Din-hyo and mentioned that he had a secretive personality. Kim Din-hyo explained that he, like her, had joined the hidden guild to avoid attention. Teresa was surprised that Kim Din-hyo knew about her intentions despite not revealing them directly. He explained that he was not familiar with the area and only trusted Teresa. Ultimately, both of them were searching for the same item. Kim Din-hyo then made a rather bold suggestion, expressing his intention to accompany Teresa. After a while, the two reunited with the Chinese group. Teresa proposed discussing their next plan with the group, mentioning that she wanted to challenge the guild leader. Moreover, the Chinese group had a map leading to the target location. The most important thing was that both sides had agreed to cooperate independently before confronting the boss. One of the Chinese members sarcastically commented, but Kim Din-hyo quickly intervened, saying it was fine. Teresa expressed her desire to meet everyone again, and she also suggested borrowing someone from the group to join them. Kim Din-hyo responded by telling her to do as she pleased and assured her that they would return soon. Teresa coldly glanced at the group of members. The guild leaders turned their heads and walked away, knowing that this crazy duo would head towards certain death and were impossible to follow. However, someone from the crowd stepped forward to volunteer. "Hey, I'll go." The guild leaders hesitated but eventually gave in to their fate. They realized that only Kim Din-hyo remained with this disposition. They reminisced about their past, and one of them said it reminded them of the good old days. Kim Din-hyo felt a sense of relief, realizing that he could rely on someone like this. He didn't expect himself to be so persistent. After some time, the overwhelming feeling rushed over Kim Din-hyo, and he couldn't believe that he had begged like this. After their passionate love and desperate fights, they had finally arrived at their destination. Kim Din-hyo looked in the direction Teresa pointed, indicating the secret room. Teresa explained that the Holy Saint's teacher lay guarding the ancient coffin. "Try to know that I need to remove the lower layer of the coffin." Kang Din-hye wanted to ask a question curiously. Unexpectedly, a warning appeared at this moment. The system informed that the Lord of the Han Lang Sang-ah is searching for silver, while others are unaware. After some contemplation, Kang Din-hye confidently speculated that this must be a warning from the boss. Teresa, on the other side, didn't understand much, so she turned and asked Kang Din-hye, "I think it's from the boss, but why is it looking for us? Is it targeting us?" Kang Din-hye didn't need to think and immediately denied it, showing off his handsome appearance without any hesitation, asserting that the boss is looking for him. "Damn, this guy talks too much." Kang Din-hye, "I have a question. Earlier, you told me that you know everything about this place, is that right?" "Yes, it's been a while." Teresa asked again with a serious and slightly worried expression. "Then what should I do next?" A moment later, Kang Din-hye disappeared without a trace. Teresa quickly drew her sword and hurried towards the area with monsters. The monsters, leaning against each other, immediately noticed the approaching figure. Teresa used her holy song. Her current level is 5, which can increase all stats by 3 points within 10 minutes. So the plan worked. She became a decoy, attracting the attention of the enemies. Using her own holy power, the monsters were all stunned. By enhancing her level 5 holy power, Teresa made a bloody path. Taking advantage of Teresa's diversion, Kang Din-hye quickly stepped on the heads of the monsters and rushed inside. He was so fast because Kang Din-hye didn't want to level up yet. But something was wrong with the undead at this moment. Something seemed to have appeared from below the ground, and amidst the swirling dust, A skeleton holding a staff emerged. The system's notification from the Divine Spirit indicated that a high-ranking lich had appeared. From below, there were signs of someone waking up. It was Kang Din Hai. Finally, the person appeared, the high-ranking lich. Taking advantage of the chaos, a man named Han 5-5 wielded a sword and attacked. Kang Din Hai quickly dodged the attack. Facing two forces at the same time, Kang Din Hai couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. It couldn't happen in a similar way like before. It seems that this time everything has changed because he brought Teresa along. Just when he barely managed to escape from Han, he encountered the territory of the high-ranking lich. Kang Din Hai took advantage of the power of the high-ranking lich to defeat Han. Seeing that Kang Din Hai could escape again, the high-ranking lich raised his staff once more. Kang Din Hai quickly led the attacks of the lich's consciousness towards himself. When the attack was about to come, he quickly moved aside. Under the destructive power of the lich's consciousness, even though the protective barrier was at level 3, it couldn't withstand it. As the barrier was destroyed, the energy of the lich was also disrupted. At this point, Kang Din Hai had the ability to kill the lich. After dealing with all the Han, Kang Din Hai quickly approached and closed the distance with the high-ranking lich. What's wrong? You're the last one left. What trick do you have? Kang Din Hai frowned. Directly facing the high-ranking lich, he asked in a cold tone if the lich still remembered him. Kang Din Hai suddenly adjusted his facial expression, trying to recognize who this guy was. Oh, you beautiful idiot, don't you recognize me? You really don't recognize me. Kang Din Hai still didn't know who this guy was. But he used the Eye of Truth and found out that the person in front of him was a stupid guy named Chuenji Sun, level 29. Occupation: swordsman. Unique skill: sword dance. And he also has other skills. All of this was written after defeating Chuenji Sun in a sword duel. Now he recognized that the sword in his hand was the engraved mirror he lost at the National Museum in his country. After some contemplation, Kang Din Hai finally remembered something from many years ago. Back then, there was someone he had defeated. Because he couldn't accept it, he always tried to challenge you. Whether you were fighting monsters or just passing by. But you had to admit that he was a skilled warrior. Straight at Chuenji Sung's face, Kang Din Hai sneered. Realizing that he was the one following this troublesome guy, Kang Din Hai's words hit a nerve, infuriating Chuenji Sung. He believed that this battle would have a different outcome, as in the real world. Both shared the same starting point. On the other side, Teresa had cleared the undead and was quickly making her way towards them. Chat, a saintess, huh? Your teammate is quite far away. Kang Din Hai remarked to avoid Teresa being affected by the fight. Chuenji Sung raised his dirty sword, preparing for the battle. In the blink of an eye, as the sword dug deep into the ground, a barrier formed around the two. Looking sideways, there was something emitting a purple light. Teresa hesitated for a moment, seeing the fading barrier and growing extremely worried. Stay back, Kang Din Hai assured her. Just as he finished speaking, both of them were pulled into another dimension where no one could disturb them. Once again, I challenge you, Kang Din Hai called out. As Chuenji Sung entered the battle stance, he activated his double resistance skill, increasing all his stats by 10%. In return, Kang Din Hai was at a disadvantage. Lost 10%, huh? Kang Din Hai whispered to himself, realizing that he was being overwhelmed by Chuenji Sung's battle skills and resistance. Despite the unfavorable situation, Kang Din Hai managed to wear a smile filled with hidden intentions because once he entered a disadvantageous situation, the special condition of his skill, Hope's skill, would be activated. With that, Kang Din Hai didn't need to rely on any conditions and could intentionally copy one of his opponent's skills. And of course, Kang Din Hai chose the unique skill, Sword Dance. As the name suggested, this skill could raise the user's sword proficiency by 200% and automatically bring forth the most effective sword techniques, enhancing all senses. Frustrated by being trapped, Chuan Ji Sung transformed into a sword in his hand and declared that he would show Kang Din Hai what a festival was. Nothing special. Kang Din Hai calmly took out his engraved mirror and faced Chuan Ji Sung. This guy's intermediate level combat skills are nothing special. He's just a mediocre swordsman compared to me. Kang Din Hai even added a few mocking remarks, making the situation more threatening. Chuan Ji Sung's temper flared up, and he activated his strongest skill. Tri Hun Lin Dao, Soul-Slaying Sword. In an instant, another illusion appeared beside Chuan Ji Sung. Kang Din Hai was a bit skeptical, thinking that he might have gone too far by using his sword spirit to fight against a mediocre swordsman. Looking at the rare fruit in his hand, Kang Din Hai knew that he couldn't continue like this. If he kept using the engraved blade, it would surely break. He took out the demon soul he had obtained earlier to recreate the sword spirit from Chuan Ji Sung's sword proficiency. Kang Din Hai used Hope's skill and demon soul in activating the combined skill system. A dazzling and magnificent aura emerged. Finally, the last special skill was formed. Activated after using the combination, the skill named 2 Diem, from points, an SS level skill. With this skill, the user's sword proficiency would increase by 500%. Moreover, this skill was also a prerequisite to obtain the title of Swordmaster. The unique skill 2 Diem, from points, is activated, along with the skill Jia Hat Wei, Moonlight Singing. However, this is still not the full power of this skill, as the required level of strength has not yet been reached to use it. On the other side, the buried love flows uncertainly and coldly. Oh, what kind of weak and futile power is this? I am in the most ideal place, where even both sides lack unique skills or shared combat skills. I have to reveal my true strength against this opponent, otherwise I won't be able to defeat it, whether it's inside the game or in the real world. The buried love does not resent. Han has done everything possible to overcome the required level of strength, even thinking about it more than his beloved Han. The buried love is completely devoid of reason, roaring like a trapped beast pushed to the brink. Han is determined once and for all, along with the required level of strength, to split it into 9 parts here. But with the current strength, the buried love is fundamentally no match for the required level of strength. Just one strike is enough to sever the spiritual power of the buried love. The hair moves behind the buried love as the required level of strength mocks. I have fought against opponents faster than you many times. They even use something stronger than Anko's sword. As I said, I swiftly cut down a star. The buried love crashes heavily to the ground. The blade bends down, touching the wings of the sword. The required level of strength forcefully pushes the sword away. It seems that I have won, although I don't remember how many times this has happened. The buried love is desperate. This is the 138th time it has faced the required level of strength, and the buried love is ready to embrace death. But the required level of strength only smiles faintly, hoping that the next time that number will be 139. Every punch ends in a funeral. The required level of strength declares that the buried love is a formidable opponent, something humanity truly needs, raising its hand, intending to awaken the buried love. But in reality, the required level of strength does this just to copy someone else's abilities. It would take a lot of time to copy someone else's abilities. And this self-proclaimed savior will come searching for abilities after a few weeks. Seizing the buried love's hand while activating the skill Dao Thiep, sword greeting. The face of the loved one becomes calmer, the oppressive layer has been lifted. While facing the buried love, he doesn't forget to ask for the true name of the required level of strength, but the required level of strength stubbornly refuses to reveal it. With a sword raised, the buried love stretches its neck and vows to call the required level of strength by its in-game nickname. As soon as the required level of strength hears that, its face no longer shows mercy. For now, stay silent, don't speak. I'll go straight ahead. The required level of strength's expression is unmoved but still nods. Yes, wait. Have I said it yet? At the other side of the Chinese group, someone in the group notices something amiss. They have scanned all the monsters, but the energy sensors are reacting. While everyone is still wondering, a figure approaches. Right after, a large shadow appears, a formidable enemy. More importantly, there's someone on its back. Based on this appearance, there's no doubt that's the face of a high-level entity. The face of the entity slowly descends, a tall figure resembling a noble. He introduces himself as Velos. I am pleased to serve the mighty ruler, the owner of this artifact. China has taken more risks than Japan, attacking Kong Jin group. Velos swings his sword towards Kong Jin. He taunts, asking why he came here. Kong Jin raises his sword, and Velos extends his neck to be cut. A drop of blood falls to the ground. You immediately activate the blood replenishment skill. Everyone here, half will be immobilized, the other half will be turned into appetizers by Velos. Waiting for the group of Kong Jin, at this moment, Teresa is trying to decipher some kind of sacred object. This object is called Bangla, Icy Tears, an extremely rare SS-grade artifact. After using it, the user's mana will increase significantly. But it needs to be deciphered before using it, otherwise, it will cause severe damage to the user. After deciphering it, Kong Jin's mana has increased to 12 points. After a long wait, Teresa finally turns to ask, "Is it okay, Jin Hu, Kong Jin?" Then, "I'm fine." Suddenly, the system notification appears. An invitation from the owner to transfer to another dimension. Accepting the long mission to confront the Chinese team. If you accept the mission, the monsters here will be disabled. With her curious nature and love for adventures, Teresa is determined to go. Even if she can only bring one person. But Teresa understands very well, Jinho is an extremely formidable opponent. Without a surprise attack team, she wouldn't even consider that she could be played with by Jinho in the palm of his hand. Remembering her efforts and hopes for the future, Teresa is confused about what to do next, wondering if her decision is correct. Mr. Ngu sighed deeply. "I have nothing to do with them, so I'll leave." "Ah, there's one thing, if you ever feel uncertain about making decisions, then listen to my advice. That guy over there has no sense of honor and is nosy. He can't even remember the name of that particular opponent. I'm pretty sure of one thing, even if we can defeat Jinho right now, there's no one else in the world who can do it besides that guy." After leaving a few last words of affectionate advice, Zheng also left to have some fun. After a few moments of contemplation, Teresa smiled contentedly, thankful for the advice. Then Teresa ran over to Jin Hyok and asked to join the team. Jin Hyok warned Teresa about the cost of joining the team, which wouldn't be easy and could bankrupt her. Teresa promised to contribute as much gold as possible. She just wanted Jin Hyok to help her defeat Jinho. Well, this is something that needs to be done sooner or later. So Jin Hyok agreed to lend Teresa a hand. So both of them accepted the mission. Since all the monsters and enemies had been eliminated, they quickly reached their destination. In this place, where spiritual energy emanated strongly, Teresa felt uneasy. Jin Hyok assured her not to worry, as victory in battle is not always determined by strength alone. Teresa asked Jin Hyok about the next plan. Jin Hyok admitted that he had a plan. The gate opened, and Jin Hyok reminded Teresa to be prepared for what might happen inside, and to trust him completely. Then both of them entered inside, and what appeared before them was a chilling battlefield. After taking a deep breath to regain composure, they continued walking deeper inside. In the eyes of the Demon Lord's gaze, Jin Hyok and Teresa stopped to observe further. The woman sitting at the highest throne was Xinu, Alice von Ataraxia. In Vietnamese, they were also known as the Between Realm, radiating a dazzling aura. Xinu was obviously annoyed that Jin Hyok had kept her waiting for so long. Jin Hyok couldn't open up fully. He asked seriously about the people who had been hurt. Xinu didn't say much either. She simply raised her hand and gestured for Jin Hyok to see for himself. The injured individuals were released. All the members of the assault team were set free. Using his truth eye, Jin Hyuk quickly discovered that among the crowd, there was a particularly dangerous person, Ha Jin from the pact. So the guy who caused trouble and woke up the guards was him. Xinu straightforwardly stated the reason why Jin Hyuk had come here. Xinu was attracted to a scent that Jin Hyuk emitted. The most intoxicating fragrance she had encountered from a human. Yes, it was the scent of that person's blood. A completely different scent from the other people nearby. It made her excited. Fine, Jin Hyuk said with a hint of resignation. He didn't expect this kind of situation in a game. It seemed unnecessary to go to such lengths. Xinu smiled brightly without any need for watering. Contrary to that, Jin Hyuk felt a great headache, a perplexing mix of desire and repulsion for his blood. Xinu assured Jin Hyuk not to worry. She enjoyed watching but not necessarily. Long ago, there were demonic beings who were ruthless assassins in the tower. They could kill players for any reason. They actively prevented other players from advancing in the tower, sometimes even collaborating with monsters from the lower levels. Xinu was familiar with the history of these demonic beings. However, she believed that by condensing the surrounding energy, she could turn them into ordinary small plants. Xinu attacked Kang Jin Hyuk directly. Teresa didn't hesitate and transformed her hair into sharp spikes. Activating her level 5 power and summoning her spirit weapon, Teresa did her best to block the attack. Xinu was surprised to see Teresa withstand such a simple attack and commented on the wastefulness of Teresa's power. But unexpectedly, Teresa retaliated with her own power. Seeing the thorns growing around her, Xinu was tempted to blow away both of them. At first, Teresa was hesitant, but when she remembered what Crack had said, she smiled confidently, believing that Kang Jin Hyuk would have a solution. Suddenly, there was a golden flash, and Kang Jin Hyuk pierced Teresa's heart from behind. Teresa was shocked and shouted, "Kang Jin Hyuk!" However, Xinu found the scene suspicious. "If I prove that it's not an illusion, will you believe me?" Kang Jin Hyuk asked. Xinu felt a little more trust this time but still needed Kang Jin Hyuk to provide further proof. Teresa, lying on the ground in pain, held onto Kang Jin Hyuk's pants. "Kang Jin Hyuk, we've decided to join the assault team together. You said you have a plan. What is your plan?" Kang Jin Hyuk remained silent, his face cold and his hand firmly gripping Teresa's throat. Xinu smiled cunningly, now willing to give Kang Jin Hyuk a chance. She told him to prevent any interference and protect Alice. Kang Jin Hyuk took out a ring and said that he would seal Xinu's soul inside the ring, temporarily immobilizing her. Drawing a circle on the ground with his staff, Kang Jin Hyuk explained that the circle would dissipate in a minute, deciding Xinu's fate. Xinu hesitated in her heart, as the onlookers from the underworld were also impressed by the scene, not expecting such a clever move. Unable to trust Kang Jin Hyuk completely, Xinu transferred her essence to her body double. She warned the body double to be wary if Kang Jin Hyuk displayed any suspicious behavior. With a swift gesture, she destroyed the magic circle. Although this move seemed straightforward and predictable, she had been trapped in this place for too long. The master had also spoken, "Take risks, eat more, think less." Xinu had already stepped into the trap, so she asked Kang Jin Hyuk one final time if she could trust him. Kang Jin Hyuk confidently affirmed that he could be trusted. The two of them touched hands, and Kang Jin Hyuk activated his unique skill, Ice Blade. Indeed, the Ice Blade did not disappear. Xinu reluctantly accepted the soul imprisonment. As soon as the ring was on, she felt comfortable inside and gently tapped the ring. Kang Jin Hyuk revealed his true expression, and Xinu felt a sense of satisfaction inside the ring. At that moment, Teresa was revived by her star's unique skill, Freezing Blessing. It turned out that the reason for this was her star's freezing blessing. As long as she didn't die suddenly, she could be revived. And the skill had a cooldown of 244 hours. Inside the ring, Xinu realized she had been deceived and became furious. Traitor! How dare you disrespect me, she exclaimed. When she was sealed in darkness, she had even given orders to Violette to quickly kill this treacherous man. Teresa had many questions she wanted to ask Kang Jin-hyuk. But now didn't seem like the time for idle chatter. Both of them were still trapped here. Violette approached with a determined look on his face, followed by a group of mercenaries. They truly believed they could escape from this situation after betraying their master. Without further ado, Violette unleashed his bloody skills. In just a blink of an eye, Kang Jin-hyuk and Teresa found themselves surrounded by the bloodthirsty mercenaries. It seemed that the battle between Kang Jin-hyuk's group and Violette's faction was about to begin. Stay tuned for the next part of the story. As for AD, he was experiencing stomach pains and needed to take a break. Farewell for now, and until we meet again.